Hey, welcome back to Wolf Den Hobbies. Today, I have a great video for you guys, and I cannot wait to share with you. Oh, hold on 1 second. I'm totally sorry about this. Hold on. Hello, Wolf Den Hobbies. Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah, they're right here. Do you want to talk to them? Really? Okay, yeah. Hey, it's for you. Someone wants to talk to you about great savings when it comes to the hobby. Wow, we lucked out. Good thing it wasn't the car's extended warranty people, right? Anyway, so a good buddy of mine reached out and was like, hey, Wolf, can you do me a favor? Can you give me some ideas of ways that I could do the hobby without spending boatloads of money? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I did some research. I looked around at multiple stores to see what I could come up with. In this video, I want to use some of the things that I came up with and see exactly how much, with just quickly looking through, I could save without spending money on like expensive wet palettes or all this paint that you really don't use. One of the things I found was this. Now, it is awful deep, very deep, too deep for most people, but it's okay. And I turned this into a wet palette. It has a nice little lid. It works good. You just kind of have to stick your paw in there a little bit. It's, ow. Anyway, and then not only that, but we're also going to use craft paint from Michaels. Quite challenging. And since it's a budget-friendly video, instead of a $50 Warhammer kit, my wife had a garden gnome from the dollar store laying around that she wanted me to paint for her, so I decided to paint that in this video as well because that was super cheap. So let's go ahead, let's dive into the video, let's get those pennies pinched, and let's get budgeting. Alright, so we have our Dollar Tree gnome primed and ready to go. We have our makeshift wet palette, and we have our paper towel. We're going to start off by putting some gray, this Craftsmart paint, onto this napkin. And what we're going to do is we're going to dry brush this gnome. And we're just going to kind of go crazy, mostly top down, you know, just give that definition of highlights and shadows, that kind of fun thing. Just so we can see exactly what we're going to do with this. Now, I didn't exactly know how I wanted to do this when my wife asked me to paint one of her gnomes for her, but we kind of just dived in, and thanks to my buddy's question, we're just wrapping it all up into one thing. So it's super cool. After this gray, we are going to come in with a white, and we're going to just push those highlights a little bit further. Just a little bit, not too crazy. So when planning this video out, I planned it to be this is the, the products you could get that are somewhat not as expensive as, if you would get things from like Games Workshop or, some other places. You get more quantity for the price and, some cheaper paintbrushes and stuff like that. And then show you kind of how to use them and see that it does work. However, what I wasn't expecting was that I ended up throwing a third little tidbit in there. It's like a little freebie, I guess. And that is, with this black, gray, and white buildup, it turned into a painting stone tutorial. I mean, I wasn't prepared for how awesome it looked like once I was done dry brushing the white. It looked like a stone gnome statue for your garden. It looked awesome. And I could have kept it that way, but it's for my wife. And my wife is a Ravens fan, a Baltimore Ravens fan. And I gave the choice to her, like, hey, what do you want your main color to be? And, well, you know, of course it was purple. So that's what he's going to turn into. But he looks cool as stone. So we got our paints laid out on our wet palette. And a lot of our mixing is going to be done in this wet palette. It's not super big. It's just cheap. Something I threw together quick. And it worked great as a wet palette. We're going to come in. The hat and his little jacket are going to be purple, along with one side of his surfboard. Now, just a disclaimer. It took a while to build up the correct opacity for this purple. It took a few coats. So just keep that in mind if you want to go to the craft paint side of things. It is going to take you a little bit to build up your colors, especially if you're watering them down and then trying to build them back up. But I found when I was testing before the video that if I didn't water them down a little bit, they would be kind of streaky. So I watered it down and then it lowered the opacity. So it was you got to play with it. Just got to play with it. But it will take you a few coats, but you can do it. Alright, there we go. We got it all built up. We have his crazy eyeballs in. And now we're going to start building up his skin tones. And now, seeing how I'm having a lot of issue putting paint on this thing, maybe it's because of the paints, maybe it's because of the material that he's made out of. I'm not too sure at the moment. So we're just going to try to build up these skin tones. Okay, there we go. We have our base layer for our skin tones done. Now we took some of that brown, some yellow, and a little bit of white, and we mixed them together on our palette. And this is going to give us our next skin tone that we're going to use. And we're just going to gradually build it up. And we're just going to be careful where we put it. I mean, there's not a lot of detail on this guy. So it's not like we can, you know, I mean, you probably could. If you were like, if you painted for, you know, 50 years, or you were like a painting messiah, then yes, you could probably make this thing look crazy, super realistic, give it details and definitions that I didn't even know it could possibly have. But here at Wolf Den Hobbies, we're just amateur painters. We're out here doing it for fun, you know. We're just the average Joe. You know, we're not out here going too crazy. Just trying to keep it simple. We're going to come in with some black. We're going to paint his pants. And the other side of the surfboard. Which, out of all the paints, for the most part, typically, this black has amazing coverage. Alright, there we go. We're going to mix up some more. Now this color is going to be for the sand. Now, that's one thing me and Anakin Skywalker both have in common. The dislike and distrust of sand. We're just going to slap this down. Just go crazy. It's not too big of an issue because, you know, we could always touch up the skin tones if we get it on his feet. But we're trying not to. Now, you have all these nice, cool colors with, you know, the purples and the gray, which we're going to do like a bluish, grayish beard. So what better than to offset that than with a little happy red starfish just hanging out down there by his feet. Just throw a little bit of color contrast in there. We also took red and we basically turned, you know, watered it down a little bit, and we made it into like a glaze, and we glazed his cheeks and his nose to give his face a little bit more warmth than what it originally had. Cool. All right. So now the next step. Now we're going to try to create a wash with this. Now, like I said, there's not much detail to it, so it's not really like we're washing too much of it. But we took one of our cheap little plastic Solo cups. We cut the bottom out. We put some paint in. We just filled it with some water until we got to the right consistency. And once we started laying it down, it didn't stain the top layer, and it went into all the little sand pits, which is perfect. So it gave the sand around his feet a bunch more definition, which helped out. Now we're going to do the same thing again, but we're going to do kind of like a skin tone wash. Almost like a soft tone. A mustard brown. And we're just going to put this in the places that it does have skin creases or crevices. Like his fingers, his toes, his belly button, stuff like that. Just to give his skin a little more definition. Just to help out as best we can. Alright. There we go. So, I did make a minor adjustment. Now, with purple being the main tone for this, I want to incorporate it into multiple things. So I changed his pants to a black tint. I also painted the back of the surfboard with a black and purple mixture, so it's not completely black, it's like purple tinted. And then I decided that I wanted to bring up the highlights on his hat a little bit more, so I added some more purple and a little touch of white just to try to bring that up a little bit. Alright, and there you have it. He's done. The wife loves it. I call this job complete. I'll see you back at the hobby desk. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the video. And to my buddy, I hope we were able to answer some of the questions you had about being able to do this hobby on a little bit of a budget, because it is kind of crazy putting out all the money on all sorts of different paints when you can get, you know, this big of a paint thing, you know, 59 milliliters for a hell of a lot cheaper than anything on this shelf. You can't beat that. So I think what we did in this video, we set out with our goal of painting something on a budget, and we accomplished it. To me, I think we nailed it out of the park with what we did. The gnome, I love it, and you know, I look forward to more projects like this. So if anybody has any questions and they're, you know, they want to ask, feel free to ask me, and I will answer them in the most amateur way possible, because I am not a professional. Until next time, I'll see you at the hobby desk.